Hey everyone, this is Callie. Welcome back for another card tutorial. Today I have an interactive card for you, combining some older and newer sets. This card uses the newer Batty for You stamp set and is combined with a set from last year called Fantastic Friends. So the smaller bats and smaller branches are from the previous set, and I'm just combining the two for a bit of perspective and just to create something new because I've already created a waving pull tab Batty for You card for Inspiration Week back in August. So this time I just want to create a little bit of variation to my card by adding some smaller bats and making the scene a little bit more intricate. So I've stamped all of my images, and here I am coloring with Copic markers. I'm just going to share in detail and slow down a little bit on the larger images and some of the main images on this panel. So I'm coloring that large bat, and I'll do the smaller bats off camera, but basically I'm adding the darker colors down first to the nooks and crannies and where I want the shading to be, and then I'll blend it out with the medium and lighter colors. Super easy to do. And here's a tip for you. Make sure there's plenty of room if you're making an interactive card. For the bats, I did have to recolor them off camera so that I can die cut them with proper space for the die. So the coloring is here, but I have to recreate it off camera so that I can die cut it with the spacing for the interactive element. I am going to continue here with coloring for the branches, and because I wanted my background to be purple, I'm giving my bat a purple hue as well as the branches. I typically go for brighter colors, but on this card I went with a little bit darker tones to create and mimic a night sky or a night scene. Finishing up here with the little spider with some grays, and then off camera I'll die cut all of the images. I'm going to add some white gel highlights to all of the images, and then I'll set it aside so we can hot foil the starry sky background for the background of our scene. This is the starry sky background hot foil plate, and I'm using some glimmer hot foil in speckled prism. So I'm going to lay that down first, and then I wanted to mask off an area for the moon that we're going to be ink blending later. So I found a circle die that will cut a circle in a similar size to the mask on our stencil, and then I'm going to lay that down before I lay down our cardstock, and that's going to mask off that circle area for the moon. So I've turned it on and I'm waiting for my platform to get ready here, and once that light stops blinking, I'm going to go ahead and undock it, run it through my die cutting machine, and redock it, and then I'm going to peel away that foil. And here we have a really cool starry sky background, and because I put down that piece of circle cardstock in place, what's foiled is going to be taken away, and then we have an open area there where we can ink blend a moon for the background later. So I started ink blending here and I forgot to put my mask in place. So I'm going to go ahead and put that on there. It's okay if there's a little bit of that Victorian Velvet Distress Oxide ink there. Our scene is going to be busy enough that it's going to cover up a lot of imperfections like that. So I ink blended the whole thing with the Victorian Velvet, and then I'm going to go in with some Villainous Potion here for the center portion of my card. And I do go all the way up to the top because I really want those colors to blend together nicely. And I'm going to finish off here with some chipped sapphire at the top. And then using a piece of scrap cardstock, I'm going to ink blend the top a little bit. I'm going to need a little pull tab indicator for my mechanism, so I went ahead and ink blended that while I had the inks out. Now using this nighttime sky stencil, I'm going to go ahead and stencil on the moon. I'm using some Lost Shadow ink, and then for the textured areas of the moon, I'm using a heavier hand for the first layer of the moon crevices, and then I'll ink blend the second layer with Hickory Smoke. Now going back in with the chipped sapphire, I go ahead and ink blend some clouds in the background. And because we hot foiled the background, that hot foil does resist the ink. I'm using my towel to make sure that the residual ink gets wiped off, and then we can work on our interactive element. This is the Waving Pull Tab starter set. So there are a few dies. You want to die cut that pull tab in white as well as the stabilizer, which is that smaller piece in white. And then I have the pull tab indicator here that I die cut using that ink blended piece of scrap paper that we ink blended earlier. And then using the die with the notch in it, I'm going to line that up to the top of my card panel. and then use these slot dies from the Batty For You die, and that stencil is going to perfectly space the two dies apart. I tape them down, and now I'm going to run them through my die cutting machine. And then I can peel that away, and we have perfectly die cut notches for our pull tab indicator as well as our wings to slide through. To put everything together, I just need a little brad. I chose one that's really small and with a low profile, so there's not a lot of bulk. I slid my brad through the hole that was on that pull tab, and then I centered it in the center between those two slits on my card, and now I'm going to slide in the wings. The wings are going to be upside down because our bat's going to be upside down. So once I feed them through, I can slide the die cut holes on the wings over the brad as well. And then I can flatten out the prongs on this brad to hold my mechanism and wings in place. Before moving on to the next step, I just want to make sure that everything flaps nicely from the front. And in the back, we're going to use this little piece here that is scored on two ends to create a stabilizer for that track. I added liquid adhesive to the center portion of this 3-panel little piece of paper, and then I'll add it behind my pull tab. There is a little score line on our tab, the long piece, so it tells you exactly where to stop and where to start. So you want your carrot to be at the very top, the little wings on the pull tab at the top there. And then I'll add a little bit more of liquid adhesive on the smaller tab, fold the larger tab over, and that should hold it all down in place. Now I'm going to add this little pull tab indicator that we ink blended and die cut at the top. I'm going to use my little tweezers there to hold it in place while I adhere my bat down. I've got some double-sided 3D foam tape on there to give our bat a little bit of dimension and to make sure the wings don't have any hindrance. And then I can go ahead and fill my scene with the rest of my colored images. Once everything is in place, I'm going to go ahead and trim off the excess of the branches, and then I'm going to add double-sided foam adhesive to the rest of the negative area on the back, making sure not to add any adhesive to our pull tab, and then adhere that to a card base. Now for the sentiment, I'm using a sentiment from the Fantastic Friends set. I'm going to emboss that in white over black cardstock. I trimmed my heat set sentiment into a little strip, and then I'll adhere it to the top of my card. And that finishes my interactive card. This card is so cute with those wings flapping up and down, and I hope you enjoyed it. If you're interested in any of the products that I use, be sure to check out the links below, where everything will be linked for your convenience. Thanks so much for stopping by, and have a wonderful day. Bye, everyone.